Formula One, let alone the world, remains in an indefinite holding pattern as the COVID-19 pandemic continues to sweep the globe. The explosion of cases, more than 1.7 million, forcing nations into lockdown. And like other industries and sports, F1 has had to take drastic measures to protect itself from the loss of revenue, with Liberty Media expecting a $200 to $300 million drop and an end to the protective measures preventing mass gatherings some way off. As it stands, the F1 calendar is down to 13 races, though France will likely soon be postponed, with the French government extending its ban on mass gatherings until mid-July. Austria is the next starting point. While another deadline looms for F1's original night race in Singapore, with the build for the September event traditionally starting in May. But with new COVID-19 developments coming every day and numerous travel restrictions in place, it's difficult to see how anything other than more event postponements or cancellations can be made. With F1's target of a 15 to 19 round summer championship to be held later in the year looking like an ambitious pipe dream. Once restrictions begin to ease, though, one option could be Silverstone, home of British motorsport, which has said it's open to hosting multiple races and even using a reverse layout. An attractive proposition for a potential season start, with 7 of the 10 F1 teams based in and around England's Motorsport Valley. We are willing to work with them in any way, shape or form that they think is in the best interest of the championship, said Silverstone Managing Director Stuart Pringle. A far greater issue, though, is ensuring all 10 squads make it to the first race financially. McLaren Racing CEO Zak Brown admitting teams could be lost, with the sport in a very fragile state. I could see 4 teams disappearing if this isn't handled the right way, Brown said. To reduce the financial burden, F1 has delayed the start of its new era to 2022. But the sport rejected Red Bull Racing's call last week to push that back to 2023, despite the huge costs. The teams must also use their 2020 chassis and other components into next year with no changes allowed, except for McLaren, which will switch from Renault to Mercedes power units. F1 and governing body the FIA are also looking at introducing an engine development freeze to further save costs, and a potential tightening of the cost cap, still to be introduced in 2021. Though this may force unwanted additional redundancies at the sport's top squads at a time when vacancies are rare. And teams are already having to make sacrifices, with selected staff at McLaren, Renault, Racing Point, Haas and Williams either taking voluntary pay cuts or put on an enforced leave of absence. Even the sports management has been affected, with half of the F1 Group's staff put on furlough, and senior personnel getting a 20% pay cut, with Chairman and CEO Chase Carey likely to take a voluntary reduction. It's a challenging time for everyone, let alone those working in elite sport F1. But the changes that have been put in place will hopefully ensure that 20 drivers blast off the grid once COVID-19 is under control. And the sport can again do what it does best: race on the limit. Thanks for watching. To stay up to speed on all things Formula One, make sure you hit the subscribe button.